So now we will take questions.
Governor, this is Dave Evans at Channel 7. I understand what Assemblyman O'Donnell said about, not wanting a pew in your church or in the synagogue, but this morning our new cardinal again spoke out against this issue, and then a few minutes ago also Ruben Diaz said, "You are challenging us, you are challenging the army of Christ." How do you respond to that?
Let's start with the cardinal. I have met him, talked to him a few times. I think he's a man of goodwill, and I think he has a great heart. He spoke out yesterday at the cathedral in his installation on a number of issues, and we stood for him. We stood for him because we applauded that he's speaking out for what he thinks is right and doing it in a very gracious and admirable way. But this is a civil government, and he has the opportunity, as do a lot of religious leaders of differing points of view, to advocate in Albany and to stand up for what he believes. I was christened Catholic. I don't see the issue of marriage equality as inhibiting my faith. T.S. Eliot once wrote, "I don't acknowledge any fixed rules for the interpretation of religion." And we all differ on that point of view. I've never gotten to the point where I couldn't listen and honestly try to understand what those who differ with my point of view are saying, but I feel enhanced with the discussions that marriage equality is the fairest way, it's legally the right way, and in my case, spiritually, it is the correct way.
You said first about Dolan, but what about Ruben Diaz, what he said?
Well, I didn't know he was convening Christ's Army.
Paul?
Because I thought I was a member of it, and I'm in favor of gay marriage.
Governor, Paul Schindler from Gay City News. You twice mentioned the absence of Speaker Silver this morning. No mention of the Majority Leader, Malcolm Smith. Is there a reason he's not here, and is he prepared today to comment on the prospects for the bill this session, this year, rather?
No, he is not celebrating Passover, Danny. He just returned to New York yesterday. He wasn't aware of the press conference yesterday. He had another commitment. He is a strong supporter of marriage equality. He will make the final decision, and we will respect whatever decision he makes. I am not demanding that the Majority Leader do anything. He and Senator Duane and Senator Perkins, they will come to that conclusion along with Senator Kruger on their own. All I was saying is that I thought I was starting to hear that the anxiety and the fear had overcome people to such an extent that we were going to hypocritically demand that the Republicans put the bill on the floor in 2007, and then when we got to the majority, would eschew the opportunity to put it on the floor in 2009. Now, the Republicans were not only not putting the bill on the floor in 2007, but 2 years earlier they passed something called a motion for petition, so that when we would try to put the bill on the floor, they didn't record. Have you ever heard of this? We had a vote, but they don't record it. These are the people who are screaming for open government now. I wish we had it then. And so what I'm saying is that he is a strong supporter of the legislation. He will make the final decision. I just wanted to create the option so that we can go forward, and I think we should go forward.
Governor, it's Jeremy Peters from the New York Times. Could you explain to me what your level of involvement is going to be in lobbying for this, whether or not you'll be personally visiting with legislatures and when that might begin?
Well, I take my cue from the sponsors of the legislation and from the leaders of the legislature. In 2007, Danny asked me to come over, along with Alan Van Capel, and walk through the assembly and talk to some of my colleagues, and I did that. And I would be involved in any way that those who are sponsoring the legislation think it would be helpful.
Governor, it's Joshua.
He spoke, and several speakers spoke, about how the fact that a bill may not pass, it doesn't mean we shouldn't bring it for a vote. Are any of you concerned that if it's brought to a vote and it fails, that could be a setback for marriage equality because people will say New Yorkers don't want it?
Well, I always assumed having been in the legislature for 21 years, let me tell you something. I want to cite 3 bills. Cameras in the courtroom in 1986, the bill to establish a Long Island Power Authority in 1987, and a bill to legalize gambling in New York in 1996. Those are the only 3 bills out of, and I decided to go back and count them up, 36,980 bills, where at the time the bill was introduced, no one in the chamber really was sure whether or not the bill would pass. 3 out of 36,980. I think that is abysmal. And what we're saying is that this is the reform that we've always claimed that we wanted, that legislation would come to the floor and be publicly debated up or down based on its merits. Now, the only people who say it's a devastating victory, it sets it back, well, in California, they voted for Proposition 8. Did they listen to that in Iowa, in their Supreme Court? No. Did the Vermont legislature listen to what they did in California? No. And neither is New York. If the bill is set back, guess what we're going to do? We're going to keep coming. We're going to bring it back next year and the year after that until it passes. The real question is, what would be the strategy that would make the bill pass sooner? And I submit that in history, it was vigilance and determination and struggle and perseverance, not sitting back. Wait, I mean, I'm hearing things I can't believe. We have to wait for someone to talk to the Republicans. You don't think we never talked to them before? We have to make sure we poll in the districts. You don't think we did that before? We've been fighting for these issues for years. But even as we try to pierce this veil of not so elitist sophistry, we've got to make sure that we are not being confronted by real problems and phony remedies.
Governor, can you talk a little bit more about the timing of why now? Were you waiting for the Democrats to take over the state Senate, and if so, why not have introduced it earlier? And if you would, sir, just to address some of the criticism or sort of the cynicism, I should say, out there that you're bringing this up now at this time to deflect from some of the popularity that's emanated since the budget's been passed.
Well, first of all, I went on record as a supporter of marriage equality in 1994. I dare say there are some people, even in the advocacy community, that didn't know it was even becoming an issue. In 2006, 2007, I fought this legislation. In 2008, as soon as I became governor, I made sure that the agencies in this state would recognize marriage equality around the country. So if I didn't introduce the bill, you could get up and say, is the reason you're not introducing the bill because of your lack of popularity after the budget? In other words, these are these sort of gotcha questions where heads I win and tails you lose. The reality is I'm the one that's been consistent. I have always wanted the bill debated on the floor. I have not in any way changed my point of view, nor have I changed my conduct when it comes to this legislation or anything else.
Governor, Arun Venugopal from WNYC. Just to follow up on that question, to what extent do the events in Iowa or Vermont influence your timing, and to what extent do you think that they will help your cause?
Well, they didn't influence my time. I have made it clear that I was ready to introduce the bill whenever the advocates thought that it was necessary. I think there was a little period of some confusion and maybe even some despair after what happened in California, and who can blame anyone who's been fighting for rights for decades, thought that they were on the precipice of victory, and then had such a jolting defeat as was sustained last November. So what you have to do is give it a little time, start to remind people that after the assault at Stonewall in 1970, the advocates pulled themselves together and kept fighting. After they sicked police dogs on little boys and girls, when the parents couldn't get arrested anymore in Alabama in the 60s, they stepped back and then they pulled themselves together. And today, I think you see the amplification of that process. Everybody's back on the same page. Everyone's fighting for marriage equality.
Last question from Mark.
It's Marcia Kramer, Governor. I was wondering, you said that you needed to have bipartisan support to pass this bill in the Senate. I wonder if you'd be calling on Mayor Bloomberg to come and help you lobby some of the city Republicans, like Andy Lanza and Marty Golden and Frank Padovan, to try to get them on board and to use his bully pulpit to help you.
I think the mayor can certainly speak for himself, but as shown by his presence today, he didn't drop by just to engage in the ceremonial introduction of the legislation. He has been an advocate, and I think will continue.